Hi everyone, comic book reviewer here. This time reviewing on season 1 of Invincible. Now, as you know, season 1 of Invincible is part of a ongoing streaming service TV show by Amazon Prime, and of course was meant to be based on Robert Kirkman's comic book series Invincible that obviously lasted up until near 2012 for quite a long time. And keep in mind, since this is like a TV show adaptation, there are going to be a few changes. So the premise of season 1 is meant to focus on Mark Grayson, who is desperate to kind of get his sort of Viltrumite powers and trying to prove himself to his father, who is meant to be known as the sort of superhero army man. And we see how at first, as soon as Mark gets his powers, he treats it a bit like how I think a kid gets his driver's license, or how he gets his first taste of alcohol. He thinks it's going to be this big, amazing adventure. But right away, we see how Mark has to kind of learn the ropes of not only being a superhero, but also having to learn the consequences of being one. And we kind of see how Omni-Man has to make sure that he learns the ropes, make sure he understands the whole responsibilities. But we see right away that there's more truths about Omni-Man than there is, leaving not only Cecil to be extremely cautious of him, but also his wife, Debbie. And I think the whole point of season 1 is meant to show how manipulative Omni-Man is. We kind of see how he's able to kind of twist his words and play this whole nice guy routine. And you can tell deep down Omni-Man knows what he's doing is wrong, but he wants to believe deep down he's doing what he thinks is right. And I think I give the first season credit is giving foreshadowings to what the characters are going to be, because honestly, when you have episode 2 with the whole Fraxin thing, it kind of foreshadows more truths about Omni-Man's origin and the Fraxin leader being kind of like foils to other members of Omni-Man's species. And I think obviously having Red Rush and his wife symbolizing what obviously Nolan and Debbie are gonna be, and also seeing Red Rush's wife slowly becoming an alcoholic is meant to foreshadow what Debbie is going to become. And obviously, yeah, we kind of see how even Damien Darkblood is a bit cautious of Omni-Man, and we see how Cecil has to make sure to take every precaution to make sure that there's no leaks. And I give the first episode credit, is setting up the Guardians of the Globe to be this sort of Justice League to the group. But I think obviously having Omni-Man kill them right away for episode 1 takes away more mystery, and I think if they cut it to the whole Omni-Man meeting with the Guardians, and then kind of leading up to what could happen with season 2 for the second episode, would actually build a bit more mystery. It would kind of leave you wondering what really happened at the Guardians of the Globe headquarters, and showing how Nolan is trying to cover up his lies, but giving obvious hints. And I think obviously having Team be the sort of new Guardians of the Globe works a bit more. And keep in mind having Samson be the sort of guy who was part of the original team made more sense. And they do show right away that he obviously should have been leader, calling out the team's poor leadership skills and them not really being prepared. And I think what the first season also gets right at, I think, is also showing the difference between Mark and how Nolan handle things with both their romantic partners. Like, Nolan is trying to figure things out, but it's kind of becomes clear he's still focused on what he needs to do is right. It's kind of clear throughout the first season, Amber already figured it out, but it's clear she's just playing along, but is getting annoyed at Mark for not being too honest about him, despite everything going on. And keep in mind that Amber obviously doesn't expect lies, and we don't really know much about her. We really don't know why Amber has a problem with being lied to. And this is us as the audience not really knowing completely. And I obviously know the first season had to cut things out, like the Invincible character Mastermind, Mark's teacher being the sort of main villain in his own story, strapping teens with bombs and targeting shopping malls. I can understand why Mark's teacher had to be cut out, because obviously they can't have a Sinclair 1.0 until getting Sinclair's character ready. And obviously, it becomes clear why they had to change Sinclair's actor, as well as having Justin Roiland be removed, be sort of there for that episode, is because obviously after season 2 they had to change Sinclair's actor due to kind of getting into controversy. But I think it becomes clear that Justin Roiland was only in there to be a background character for that one episode. And I think it becomes clear that they should have just recasted the character or had a new voice actor come through. Something that I think Disney know what they need to do, because when you have Louis Sinclair in Louis C.K. in Gravity Falls, or the guy from Seventh Heaven in that Avengers Assemble episode, Disney made the right choice to remove them because they know they've gotten into controversy, and once you're in controversy, people will find it hard to kind of see you in a positive light and wanting to remove anything from it. And I think it becomes clear that season 1 is obviously showing Mark having to learn the consequences of seeing that being a superhero is going to be this big, amazing adventure. But of course, he has to kind of learn the consequences of seeing this more like a child than an actual adult. So, is season 1 good? Yes, but it has its moments where it becomes so obvious that you know the writers are kind of rushing in to kind of build Omni-Man up, not really taking time to kind of build up a proper mystery for the first episode. And it becomes clear that season 1 is just more Mark's journey as well as Omni-Man's. So it definitely deserves a thumbs in the middle. It's an okay start, not the best, but it is getting there despite some mixed feelings. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.